Welcome to our first episode of Connect with Ivy Tech. I'm your host, Phil Quinn, Marketing Coordinator of the Richmond and Connersville campus for Ivy Tech Community College. And our purpose for this program is really to showcase the different events, the faculty, students, staffs, and programs that we have at Ivy Tech. And so over the course of today's show, we'll be talking to Sabrina Pennington, also Teray Conley and Ron Oler, all with Ivy Tech Community College in the faculty and staff department. My first guest is Sabrina Pennington. She is Vice Chancellor for Enrollment and Student Success. Thanks for being on the show and being our first guest.
You're welcome.
The primary driver of what we do at Ivy Tech is educating students from all different walks of life, and part of that process is the enrollment and getting people in, and spring enrollment is just around the corner. Tell us about that.
Yeah, spring enrollment is.
It's right here.
Classes begin January the 14th. That's our first 8 week. We'll talk about that later. And we do have enrollment going on now. We have some days that we like to call express enrollment days, and we call them that because we try to guarantee that we'll get you through the enrollment process in one day. And so we enroll every day, not to get that wrong, but on these particular days, everybody's on hand. And the next ones we have coming up are Thursday, November the 29th, and then Thursday, December the 6th, and Saturday, December the 8th. And then in January, we go for 3 days and call it an enrollment kind of week. And that is from Wednesday, January the 2nd till Saturday, January the 5th. And that is in preparation for that January 14th start date.
The enrollment process, I think, can be intimidating for some students. Mm-hmm. So the best way for them to be ready to go, because a lot of it has to do with financial aid possibilities and those sort of things, what do they need to bring with them to one of these enrollment days, or if they chose to come in at any time to Ivy Tech? What do they need to bring with them?
Well, if when they come and they want to get started and they haven't done their FAFSA or their Pell Grant application or whatever they refer to it as, then they would need to bring some tax information.
Okay.
And right now, best would be for 16 and 17. There is a tool called a retrieval tool that they can use to get some of that, but not everybody has necessarily filed their taxes. So they would need that. Other than that, they need to bring themselves and be ready and willing. We do have a testing process or a placement process, so to speak. But the testing has changed and is a lot less intimidating. And they can get it done in that same time that they come in.
I think that's the unique part, is especially during those express enrollment days, you can get through the process you need to, get registered for classes and be ready to go. Should people have an idea about what courses they want to take, or can they be advised through that process too?
They can be advised through that process. Advisors will be available to help them. And even if a student hasn't decided even what they want to do, they just know they want to make a change. Right. We also have career development available to help them with some testing. We use Indiana Career Explorer, and they can do some assessments to see what areas they may have a particular interest in.
You mentioned 8-week courses. Since my time being on campus has been relatively new since this summer, I've heard about an 8-week course schedule. What is that compared to what is typically a 16-week schedule?
Correct. Typically, most all of our classes were in a 16-week format.
Okay.
We have transitioned to this 8-week format, and that's where a student can take, let's say if they want to be full-time, they used to have to focus on 4 classes for 16 weeks. Now they can focus on 2 classes for 8 and 2 classes for the other 8. Now, we haven't simply taken 16-week classes and crunched them up into 8-week time, an 8-week time frame. Right. There's been some changes, and it's been a very thoughtful process. And we have found that students tend to like it better because you really don't have time to put a lot of things off, and you just start and you're finished. And then by 8 weeks, they have feedback as to how they're doing. And it's been a real good process for students and for faculty.
And those 8-week course signups, you don't have to wait until a spring or fall enrollment. There's some times in between that you can get signed up then.
Absolutely. Okay. So for this spring, for instance, January 14th starts the spring semester, but in March there will be a second 8-week session starting, and so individuals who may miss that January time could sign up for the March section. So you don't have to go both 8 weeks. You can go one 8-week.
I think that's a really neat thing, and I'm glad to see Ivy Tech taking this initiative to do that, because I think it does fit better with people's schedules. And that it's a hard crunch for those 8 weeks. I mean, you're in some serious studying, but that is a unique experience, and it's never too late to get signed up, right?
That's right. That's right. And one thing that research has found is when students do it in bite-sized chunks, they tend to be much more successful, which is what it's all about, is student success.
All right. And the best way for someone to get started to either pick an enrollment date, better to go to the website, better to call? What's the best way to get signed up?
Depends on what works for the student the best.
Okay.
If you're a student and you really like getting on the website, you're going to find everything you need to know out there and what to do. You can call the Ivy Line number, and they can direct you through the process, or you can just come into campus and someone will be there to walk you through all the steps of enrollment. It
is great, and we hope people can get signed up for these either 8-week or 16-week courses. Making the change is the important thing. Deciding that you want to take that next step is what's really important for our community's workforce.
Correct.
That's great. So, Sabrina Pennington, she is Vice Chancellor for Enrollment and Student Success. Thank you for being our first guest, and we certainly appreciate you being here. Again, one more time, the express enrollment dates.
The next one is November 29th,
Okay.
and then it is December the 6th and December the 8th, and then January 2nd through the 5th.
That's it, the lightning round, right?
Yeah, the lightning round.
Sabrina Pennington, thank you for being our guest. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk with Teray Conley, Director of Diversity and Inclusion. We'll be back with more of Connect with Ivy Tech after this. Welcome back to Connect with Ivy Tech. I'm Phil Quinn, and our guest is Teray Conley, and he is Director of Diversity and Inclusion and Multicultural Recruitment. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Phil.
All right, so diversity on campus. A lot of colleges talk about it. Why is it so important for colleges like Ivy Tech to have a diverse program, diverse student body?
Well, it's an opportunity to celebrate our student and our community's uniqueness here. The value of learning from one another here. Although a small campus here, we have a real diverse community here. So it's an opportunity not only for our students, but our community to engage one another here and learn from one another.
I know just walking around campus, either at Richmond or Connersville, boy, we are a diverse student body.
Yes.
But you may not always be able to tell about that diversity by just looking at skin color.
Yes.
There's other things.
Well, there's socioeconomic status here, there's religion, there is gender identity, and disability. Let's not leave out there, or religion, or veterans. So we can't place everyone in a box, Phil.
Yeah, right. Well, I know our campus caters to such a wide diverse.
Yes.
Non-traditional, traditional students, all of those make up just a nice, I guess, diverse group.
Yes.
When you are talking about your role at the college, you help with organizing events, but also trying to bring in speakers, guests. Tell us a little bit about what you do on campus.
So on campus here, my goal this year has been to provide the broadest experience and access to guest speakers, access to, most recently here we had the NACO Empowerment Center on campus for poverty simulation. Just bring the opportunity for our students to engage in all the possibilities that our community has to offer here. I also recently had a session called Diversity Talks, labeled Jars Not People, dealing with mental health illnesses as well as disabilities here. And what I want to do is just bring attention and highlight some of the services and things that we have in our community here, which our students can access here, and kind of destroy the stigma on mental health. We've had some phenomenal support from our community partners.
Yeah. Let's talk about those community partners. A lot of the programming that you offer to bring these guest speakers in, there's not a cost to it.
No, that's not a cost.
How do you do that?
So that's, we have individuals who want to share their expertise with us here. And so, as you know, here going to a college campus here, that's where a lot of your learning, a lot of your work begins here. So the opportunity to be exposed and to educate and inform our students of all of the infinite possibilities here, that's where it should begin here. We're a community college to serve our community.
Let's talk about some of the events that you've had. You talked about the poverty simulation. Just describe that a little bit. What is that? What is that
The
about?
poverty simulation is an actual opportunity here, condensed into what it would be like in a 4-week span here of struggling through lower finances, lower opportunity here, and trying to either manage your family, trying to manage yourself here, and meet all of your needs here, learning about community resources here, how to utilize them, and to get past some of the stigmas of utilizing some of the social services within our community here. And so for me as a participant of it here, I knew that I understand the difficulties here. It is a challenge here to know how to survive, and with all of that here, try to meet the needs and support others.
Yeah. Do you end up partnering with other colleges that are on campus around here, or other community organizations too?
So we've been fortunate to have a wonderful partnership with Indiana University East to have acts on campus here. Most recently here, we're scheduled for January 22nd here on Ivy Tech campus here. We're bringing in a group from Dialogues on Diversity here. The performance will be called The Movement, 50 Years of Love and Struggle in America. So it's looking forward to a good show. We've had them on campus before here. It's an opportunity to utilize theater to talk about some of the injustices that have occurred over the years here, but just to bring education and information to our students in our community.
It seems like, Teray, there is sometimes when you're a college student, regardless of where you are in life, there's the opportunity to learn outside of the classroom. So when someone is out and also picking up learning in between classes, that's when you're hitting the sweet spot, right?
Yes. So for us here, it's to make that well-rounded student here and to really meet the needs, preparation for the diverse workforce here. It's an opportunity for us to utilize all of our resources here and advantages of our community here to provide you that broad background here, to provide you that opportunity to really learn and share with your family. I think that one of the good things is that our events are open to the community. Okay. They're open to our families here. And we hope that you would bring everyone that you could to participate here, because it's an education to not only our students, but our community.
That seems like it's really important that these are community events.
Yes.
The community is welcome to come in. It's not just driven for Ivy Tech
No.
students. We've been talking a lot bit about that, but it's really open.
And there's no cost.
Right.
I think that's one of the misconceptions. How much is it going to cost me to participate here? No, there isn't a cost to our events here. We just want to support our students and our community.
I think that's also a benefit of having a well-rounded student. Gives us a better workforce, right?
Yes.
More understanding.
Yeah. So when and I always use the example of healthcare. Preparing healthcare, understanding differences here, understanding uniqueness here. A good way to prepare for the workforce here. But you're getting your training here while in college.
Yep.
And so you're able to manage some of the challenges that you may face here when and internships that you may find, challenges that you may face while in your profession.
Right. Teray Conley, before we go, if there's an organization or maybe a corporate partner that would like to touch base or be part of a program that you have upcoming, how do they reach you?
Well, you can always email me here, and that's on the website as well. You can always contact me. I'm in Johnson Hall, office 1224 here, but I am always looking for opportunities to collaborate and work with others here, because it truly is about preparing our community and preparing our students.
Well, we appreciate the work that you do. It's wonderful stuff. Teray Conley, he is Director of Diversity and Inclusion, Multicultural Recruitment for the Ivy Tech campus. We have more coming up with Connect with Ivy Tech. Thanks again for being here.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you again for joining us on Connect with Ivy Tech. I'm your host, Phil Quinn. My guest with us in studio is Dr. Ron Oler. He is the site coordinator for Connersville and Rushville. How are you?
Glad to be here, Phil. Thank you.
Good. There is an exciting new program being offered at Ivy Tech that you were instrumental in bringing in. Share that with us.
Yes, the CDL program at Truck Driving School. Well, as you know, supply chain management logistics are an important industry in Indiana. We're called the crossovers of America for a reason, because Indiana is the first shortest distance to the median population center of the U.S. And Indiana is also the #1 producer of truck trailers, with the aluminum extruded right down there in Connersville. Another story for another day. You know, we have 3 maritime ports in Indiana that rank 6th in waterborne shipping, with rail and trucks getting that freight to and from there. So truck driving logistics is becoming very important in Indiana. Governor Holcomb's prioritizing a 20-year plan to fund roads and bridges. And prediction for the future through the Department of Workforce Development, through 2026 are 13,000 new jobs in transportation and logistics just in Indiana because of all that infrastructure is in place. We're improving the infrastructure. Warehousing is in place. We have the 3rd largest airport hub here for transportation, big FedEx hub in Indianapolis. So a lot of freight moves through Indiana every day.
Well, so those 13,000 jobs, not just truck drivers, but they're in other parts of that logistics too.
Correct, warehousing also, yes, a lot of warehousing jobs too. So Ivy Tech's role in fulfilling this mission, a year ago, we decided to start a CDLA truck driving school in Connersville. And we chose Connersville because it's in an industrial park, and we have this great pad, this great driving range that can accommodate 2 tractor trailers at a time. So unlike the campus here at Ivy Tech with IU East and Purdue with the narrow curb cuts, really not conducive to a truck driving school here. We have a great place in our Connersville location, and we're on a major highway right there off Road 1, Industrial Park, like I said. So we can accommodate up to 2 tractor trailers at a time. So we can accommodate classes of 3 to 8 students at a time. That doesn't sound like a lot, but they're only there for 3 weeks. So typical Ivy Tech class runs 8 weeks or 16 weeks. And we get a dozen, 15 students in there, and things go really well. So, but the CDL program is pretty intensive, and the focus is on safety. So the maximum we'll take in 1 driver trainer is 4-to-1 ratio.
Okay.
Most we can have is 4 students to 1. And right now we're running a class with 3. And corporate sponsorships, corporate partnerships are very important. So
yeah, let's talk about those corporate partnerships. At the groundbreaking, or I guess the ribbon cutting, one of the things that was discussed was the partnership with Dot Foods, that's a real strategic partner for this program in Ivy Tech.
Yes, about a year ago when we started talking about this, we actually got permission from the state of Indiana to start this, October of 2017. And in February, when I became the site director, I started meeting with Randy Templin and Becky Reynolds at Dot Foods, because they're just 20 minutes up the road from us. And they train a couple dozen drivers every year. So they were my first partner, and now the class is all Primex Plastics employees. So the first class was Dot Food employees, now Primex. We have some others in the wings. So corporate sponsorships are important. We also have Work One there in Connersville. It's funding some of our next class of students. So,
and these classes, I mean, to be a CDL licensed driver, you can make some really great money.
Yes, I'll get to that in just a second.
Okay.
You mentioned Dot Foods. I should have mentioned that. I did a ride-along with them this summer to understand that my background's in business and education. And as a farm boy, I know about trucks and how to drive trucks, but I'm not a CDL over-the-road truck driver. So I spent a day on a very serious, long 12, 14-hour day with Dot Foods. It started at 2 o'clock in the morning and ended at 2 in the afternoon.
Wow.
So we took a load, 38,000 pounds of freight from Cambridge City to Cincinnati, and unload it, sort of. But I blogged that, and the Economic Development Corporation of Wayne County, Brightside, picked up that story. So if you want to read about that blog, it's on my blog. It was on Facebook and Twitter, but now it's on the Brightside EDC, and also Dot Foods has it. They picked it up, and there's pictures with that, and kind of a day in the life of.
Right.
And you mentioned salaries. Nationwide, the salary for a CDLA truck driver is $44,500 a year, but now Dot Foods is up the game locally they start at $50,000 a year. So these are good paying jobs with good benefits.
Wow. You talk about these corporate partners. Right now, the CDL program is working with employees of companies that want to see these employees get trained. But do you see that program expanding at some point where anyone can go and get trained?
Yes. Well, that's the Work One training. Like I said, my next class, Work One, it takes a little time to get through their hurdles and their paperwork. They have funding available. So when we were able to start our first class about a month ago, Prior to that, we had some students in the process, in the pipeline at Work One, and they're just now finishing up their paperwork and the requirements. It's a slow process, but be patient if you're applying to Work One, because it's just under $5,000 for a 3-week class. So it's good to be patient and get through all the state's paperwork, the government's paperwork, to get them to fund your training. So, but you have to meet requirements. So that's another thing. You know, you need to be 18 years old or older. You need to be 21 if you want to drive across state lines.
Okay.
So some companies will hire 18-year-olds. Harvest Land Co-op's a good example. They're going to sponsor some high school seniors in the spring. They're going to bring a whole class through, because they're only going to drive locally in the state, because you got to be 21 across state lines. But besides that, you must have a valid driver's license, non-revoked, non-suspended. They're going to do a motor vehicle record search. So no recent tickets or fines. They call them civil misdemeanors for reckless driving and speeding. That'll cause a problem, not necessarily with us, but with an employer. So if an employer won't hire you, another thing we're doing is Work One probably won't fund you. So it's kind of the same idea. So if you have a felony record for drug convictions and an employer won't hire you, Work One's not going to fund you either. So get all that stuff cleaned up before you come.
All right.
They'll take a CDLA permit test. And it's part of the 3-week class, either before the class starts or during the class, but they have to have their CDLA permit for at least 14 days before the class ends, and they go to take their state license skills test in Indianapolis at the range. And it's a good class. So 3 weeks of classes, you spend the first week, 50 hours in a classroom, instructional training, textbooks, all that stuff. Then you spend the second and third week out on the range, going through pre-trip inspections, knowing how to drive the truck around a parking lot, and then driving on a county road, then driving on a state highway, and then driving on the interstate. So, part of the experiences in their third week, the last class, they were driving over to Indianapolis where they're going to take their test on that Friday. They started doing that in the middle of the week, and stopping at the truck stop and knowing how to use that fleet card and fill up the truck. One of the things you have to do is, how do you put 150 gallons of fuel in a truck?
Sure.
There's a lot of stuff to know. So
yeah, there is.
This company we hired, we partner with Center for Transportation Safety. They provide the trucks and the driver trainers who are all licensed in the state of Indiana.
And they've been doing that a while, right?
And they've been doing that for a long time. They've been in business about 20 years. They've been in business, military and Halliburton, the government, but 3 years ago they got into higher education. So they've been down in Lawrenceburg for a couple of years, which is an hour from Connersville, so they were a natural to partner and share trucks with. So we're sharing trucks and driver trainers, and it's working out very well.
The Connersville community just is really excited about it, as is really the entire region. I mean, Rushville, Connersville, all of the campus locations, there's students that want to do this program. How do they get signed up to do it? What do they need to do?
Yeah, and it's not just Connersville, it's all of East Central Indiana, and even Ohio too. This current class of employees, 2 of them live in Ohio. So they took a permit test in Ohio, they came to Indiana for training, they'll go back with the paperwork and get their final license. So it's all this area. So you can go to ivytech.edu and find the CDL program, find my contact. You can call the Ivy Tech campus in Richmond or Connersville, and they'll transfer you down to me. So contact me or email me, and I can send you information. roler@ivytech.edu. Send me an email, and I have a whole packet of information I can send you to answer some of that stuff. And if you meet all the other criteria, and you don't have an employer who's going to hire you right away, you can be self-pay too. We can take that.
Okay.
Now we have applied to the U.S. Department of Education to get this funded through Title IV funding, through Pell Grants and loans, as part of a certificate program in our supply chain management degree. That is still pending. But we're able to now. We got our license this summer, our site license for Connersville to be a truck driving school. So we're running the company-sponsored employees, Work One, and self-pays. We can do those all day long.
It's fantastic. It is a great program, and I know you're excited about it. And one of the best things, in just the 30 seconds or so we have, just watching these people back these trucks in. I mean, it's a seriously hard thing to do, and those people are really skilled, but still focused on safety.
Oh yeah, it's focused on safety. So next week, if you're in Connersville and you happen to be driving by our campus, middle of the week, you see these cones set up. They're taking an 87-foot rig and they're parallel parking it in a space that's only 15 feet longer. They're doing straight backing, they're doing offset backing. They have to master all that. One of the things they do, because your perspective when you're on top of a big rig is a lot different than from your car. One of the things this company does is all the students have to park their cars on the range by the trucks. So they have to drive the trucks around their cars. Yes. So it's their cars
Wow.
that they get the perspective of, okay, that little Mustang's right there, that's mine, don't hit that.
That's right. Yeah,
so they
please
get a
don't.
whole perspective before they get on the street of what it's like to be around small passenger vehicles too.
Wow, it's a fantastic program.
Total focus on safety.
Absolutely. Ron Oler, Dr. Oler is the site director with the Ivy Tech Connersville and Rushville locations. You can learn more about the CDL program and about all of the programs we talked about on today's program by going to ivtech.edu. IU East is where we're filming the show with the help of Whitewater Community Television, but thanks to our partner programs as well that are stations that are airing this program, we appreciate Connersville and Union City helping us with today's program. Ron, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Phil. It's great.